Okay, we are live.
You're back.
So, welcome everyone. I'm Alberto from the Unstoppable Creator, and today David joined me. David McIlroy from a couple of publications. he will. I will give him the chance to present himself. We have just 30 minutes, so if you have questions, put them in the chat as soon as possible, so we have time to answer them. We will talk as usual about productivity, routines, habits, and also the self improvement and mindset aspects of writers in general, and of David in particular. And I'm really curious about David because for me he's a very, very, very prolific writer, and on Substack and outside Substack. So, but first of all, David, welcome. Thank you for your time, and please tell us what you are doing now as a creator.
Yeah, thanks, Alberto. Yeah, great to be here. I really appreciate getting invited along, and it's good to chat with you and your audience. So yes, as Alberto said, I'm a writer. I write fiction books. I also write online, and I do a lot of other things as well in terms of solopreneurship. What I'm working on right now at the minute is probably threefold. So I'm writing on Substack. I'm building an audience there and creating resources in Substack to help other people learn how to write for a living, which is what my publication is called and what it's all about, how to write for a living. I'm also writing a fiction book. So this will be my, I think, fifth or sixth book that I've written. So I'm working on that right now. I'm doing a challenge where I write 1,000 words a day for the whole of March. Something that really helped me before, so I'm doing it again to kind of kickstart the writing machine. And I'm also working on my own business, which is a separate thing entirely from writing. It's more to do with marketing and promotion, and for companies here in Northern Ireland where I'm from. So those are kind of the three main things I'm doing. Probably more than that, but that's we'll stick with that for now.
Yeah, that it's more it's a lot.
Yeah,
I
it's a
think
lot.
so. I'm very, very curious uh, how you fit everything in your day. So walk us through your typical day.
Okay. So my day usually starts quite early, or it's supposed to start early anyway, around 6:30. I'll get up, I'll eat breakfast, I'll get coffee, and then I'll write. So I'll sit down in the room that I'm in now, which is the guest room of our house, and in a chair in the corner, and I'll write for an hour and a half, 2 hours of fiction, adding words to my book. And as soon as that's done, I'll get changed and I'll go to the gym, and I'll take maybe 2 hours out of my day to get some exercise, and that's all before lunchtime. So before lunch, I've written part of my book and I've got some exercise, so I've got that freedom in my brain to kind of relax the rest of the day. And then I'll have lunch, and then I'll spend the rest of the day working on Substack or my business, and whatever that entails at the time. It might be writing emails, writing posts, and reaching out to other businesses to work with, working on things to do with my website, social media, that sort of stuff. And then by around 5 o'clock at the latest, I'll try and finish. And I try not to work in the evenings if I can help it. Try and keep that time separate, so my wife and I can spend time together, and she does the same. But yeah, it's my day's pretty loose. It's pretty easy. There's some days we'll just take time out and go and get a coffee or go for a walk with our dogs and that sort of thing. Because that's the freedom that being a solopreneur gives you, which is great, and I highly recommend it to anybody who's thinking about it. But yeah, pretty straightforward. It's just in those blocks. So it's writing, exercise, work, and then free time.
So you're very regular. Your schedule is very regular.
Yeah.
Okay, and you don't spend a lot of time working. So you don't spend 12 hours every day working.
No.
You manage to avoid
Yeah.
overworking.
Yeah.
This is very, very cool. How in terms of income, I don't need the exact numbers, but how does how do all your revenue streams contribute to your overall income?
Yeah. I'd say at the minute, I'll give you like percentages in terms of how they
Yeah.
all match up. So writing, in terms of Substack and books and that sort of thing, probably accounts for it's probably 50-50, I would say. So writing's like 50%, and then my business is 50% then as well. I would say at this point. I'm trying to move it more towards writing if I can, but
Mhm.
the more one of them generates, the more I can feed into the other one, so I can spend money on advertising if I want to,
Yeah,
uh, online ads and stuff, that sort of thing. And kind of market it a bit more. But yeah, it's probably 50-50, and that sort of moves back and forth a little bit, but it's
yeah.
pretty balanced. Yeah.
On average, it's 50-50. Yeah, I asked before because sometimes how you spend your day, sadly, depends on what brings you money. So
Yeah.
I was interested in that because sometimes maybe sometimes people have dedicate more time to their writing, but just because they have savings, for example.
Yeah.
But in your case, it's exactly it's about 50-50.
Mm.
I have a question that is a personal interest of mine. Recently, my Italian YouTube channel started attracting many more clients because we shifted to from online marketing and online courses to automations and digital tools for small businesses,
Mm.
and we are getting more organic requests and also more work. So I'm constantly I feel the conflict between spending more time on my articles or anything regarding Substack, which is not bringing in 50% of my money, much less than that. And but I like it, and also it's in English, it's not in Italian, so totally different experience.
Mm.
And on the other hand, I have to reply to clients, to prepare proposals, and to do technical work, which I love, but it's totally a totally different headspace.
Yeah.
Uh, so you have fiction, you have non-fiction, and you have your business, which is not related to content, or maybe just a little related to content.
Yeah.
How do you switch? And you do everything every day, almost every
Yeah.
day. I remember Jack Dorsey, the Twitter co-founder, had his I think he dedicated one day to one business, one day to another business because he had multiple startups.
Mm.
How do you switch so easily from or effectively from one to another?
Yeah. I tried doing the one business a day thing at different times to see if it would work for me, but it just didn't really
Right.
work. In terms of my mindset. But for me, it's all about just having those blocks of time. So, as I said, the morning is for fiction, the afternoon is for my business and for Substack, and it's just about when I sit down to focus on one area, I just don't think about the other area entirely. So, for instance, when I write fiction, I leave my phone in the other room. I won't go on to Substack or anything like that. It's just purely the document that I'm writing in, and nothing else. And I'll maybe even sit in a different part of the room. I know it sounds so silly, but it's a mindset thing. So like the chair over there, which you can't see, is my armchair where I write fiction. The chair I'm sitting in now is where I probably do Substack things like lives or podcast episodes, that sort of thing. And it's just that having a different place to sit, even in the same room,
Yeah.
can sort of trick your brain into thinking this is me sitting down to work on fiction now, or this is me sitting down to focus on Substack or whatever. So I think it's very important in terms of where you are geographically, and then also about the time. So in my mind, when I think of the morning, I think of being creative and writing fiction and having that free time for myself. The afternoon is more for the admin side of things and maybe creating content or emailing clients, so that sort of thing. So it's by creating those blocks in your day. I think Justin Welsh does this as well. I think I've seen he shared his calendar a few times, and it's kind of similar to that, where he's just got these big blocks. So for me, it's not about having different days; it's just about having different sections in each day for each business.
And does this always work, or and if it doesn't work, when it doesn't work, how do you make it work? How do you fix the
Good
things?
question. Yeah. No, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes things will happen that kind of pull me into different parts.
Yeah.
But it's just about being disciplined, and I've had to learn that over the course of several years doing this, to shut off one part of my business work life from the other part whenever I'm doing it. Because if you do kind of let them all blend together, then it just becomes very confusing. You don't really know
Absolutely.
what you're doing, and what to focus on. So Yeah, having those clear boundaries for those sections is really, really important, I think, as a business owner, solopreneur, and writer. Yeah.
Um, for me, it's very easy to avoid external distractions,
Mm,
um, my phone or anything else. And but what it's really hard to avoid are the internal distractions. So
mm,
I maybe have a great idea for a client, but I have to write a post. And both I like both things, or maybe both things have a deadline, a close deadline, and that is this that requires more energy from
mm.
me. Do you find yourself in similar situations, and how
Yeah,
do you deal with them?
yeah. So yeah, totally. So if I'm doing something else, and then an idea pops into my head, or something I just know I have to do, instead of getting up and leaving that thing that I'm doing and going and doing the other thing, I just make a note in my phone or on a page,
Yeah,
say do this later, and I'll leave a reminder for the time that I know that I'm going to be in the next block. So say for instance I was writing fiction, and something popped into my head about I need to speak to Alberto later, then I would make a note on my phone and just like get up and make a note on my phone and then just leave it and set it to one side and I'll think about it again, and set a reminder for the time that I know that I will be spending the
yeah.
time Substack, for instance. So yeah, it's very very important to whenever you're in the moment to stay in the moment as much as you possibly can and just kind of give yourself a chance later to come back to that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this. I think it's the for me it's the only way. It's like bouncing the distraction when it gets into your head,
Yeah.
but having a place where you can recover it
Yeah.
later. Yeah, the reminder idea is very interesting because if it's something you have to do at the precise moment, you can't just save it somewhere and then you forget about it. Yeah, this is interesting. This makes me think about. I think I don't know if it's a conviction of mine, but I've been studying what creators and creatives in general do. There are great books about it, and there are differences in their rhythms, rituals, habits. But I think to me it seems that most creatives in general, the most successful ones are the ones who are creative but can also have enough self-discipline to uh, do what needs to be done at
Mhm.
the right time. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, yeah. The person who comes to mind when you say that is Stephen King, because
Yeah,
what he does is he writes for 2 hours every day, I think, anyway. And he writes in the morning, and he sets aside that time, and he doesn't do anything else, and he just gets it done. And then as soon as it's done, he can do whatever else he wants to do. Whatever Stephen King does the rest of the day, I don't know, but yeah, it's very much about being disciplined enough to do the thing you need to do in the moment and cut everything else out until the time's right. Yeah.
yeah. I listened to a recent interview on the Tim Ferriss podcast with Brandon Sanderson,
Mm,
and he's a machine in all areas because he's also a very smart businessman.
mm.
Yeah, it was very inspiring. So we have 15 minutes left. So welcome everyone who joined us. And I remind everyone, if you want to ask a question, put it in the chat, but you have just 15 minutes to do it. Um, let's talk about the writing process. You write a lot because you told us you do the areas you that take your time, but you write, I think, twice per week on both your newsletters. Am I right?
Yeah, so it kind of varies a little bit. How to Write for a Living is the one that's probably the most rigid, where I'll
Yeah.
post on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
Great.
One of the posts will usually be a podcast episode, so it's not really writing; it's just a podcast episode. The second one, which will be the more lengthy piece, will be a piece of writing, and then
Mhm.
the piece on Saturday is a roundup. So I kind of probably write once properly, and then the rest is all just kind of different things connected with Substack, if you know what I mean. And then in the other publications, they're more loose. So I might share a live video recording with the Solopreneur Stack audience, or I might share a piece of writing with the David McElroy fiction publication
Mhm.
audience, or just an update with them. Um, but I think that the important thing is to try and write every week, regardless. So try and have at least one period of just sitting down and really concentrated writing for Substack and writing something really meaty for your audience. I think with Substack in particular, people come here for writing above all else. Yes, video
Yeah,
is good,
I
audio is
do
good.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I think writing is still people are here for. They want to read stuff, and I think it's really important to deliver that for your audience every week as much as you possibly can. Yeah,
Okay. And uh, let's talk about the process. How do you get your ideas for your, especially for nonfiction? And how do you, more importantly, how do you choose which ideas to write about? Because I guess you have a lot of ideas, and then you have to choose one
yeah.
article and maybe two per week.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways. One would be if I feel kind of passionate about it and kind of fired up, and I've had a strong opinion about something. That's the thing I'm most likely to write about in the moment. So maybe it's something to do with Substack or writing or whatever it is, or business or solopreneurship. But if I've got a strong opinion about it, and especially if I can connect it to a story about myself in some capacity, so if I can share a story about something that I've done in the past or a process or a thing that I've tried that connects to this thing. If I have the story and if I have the thing I'm passionate about and they're going to connect, then that makes for a good article. The second thing would be if I see a need or a question within my audience popping up again and again. And this is also a good way to determine what kind of webinar you maybe do as well. If you run webinars, seeing what your audience are struggling with in that moment and addressing it as best you can. So if everybody's saying at the same time, I don't know how to structure posts on Substack, or I don't know how to market my book on Amazon, or I don't know how to create a video on YouTube for such a thing. That's the things you focus on in that moment and try and make a piece of content around that because it's relevant. I don't like to use the word trending because trends come and go all the time. But relevant questions will probably be relevant in a year's time as well. So they'll be evergreen. So it's good to make content around that. And then you can always adapt it in the future if you need to. You can always repurpose an article into a video or vice versa, or repurpose an article into another
Okay.
article. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's my process.
That's easier. Once you saw that it work, that it can, that the idea works. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you how long do you spend on an article from choosing the idea to I don't know, outlining, drafting, and editing, and finally publishing?
Mm. Yeah, it depends what it is, and depends how much content it's going to require. So, for instance, the post I put out I think last week was about notes, and I shared examples of different notes that I wrote in Substack
Mhm.
and the stats and things like that. And that was a short time writing it because it wasn't an awful lot of writing it. It was mostly just pictures and then links and things like that. But actually putting the post together, planning it, and making the feature image on Canva and all that sort of thing probably took a bit longer. So if I sat down to write, say, 1,000 words, that might take me an hour. But if I was writing 1,000 words, but also structuring the article and putting it all together
Yeah,
and planning it, that might be maybe 3 hours of work, maybe more. Again, it just depends. Sometimes something will just flow out of me very, very easily,
yeah.
especially if there's a story involved. Sometimes it'll take a bit more research and work and pulling bits and pieces together. But what about you? If you write an article, Alberto, on how long would it actually take you to put it together from start to finish?
Uh, I usually for around 1,000 words. Yeah, it's more close to, yeah, 3 hours, I think.
Mhm.
I'm experimenting a lot with AI these days. First of all, I just published an article about it. First of all, now I mostly dictate. Uh, I dictate the. Uh, I think about the idea. I explore the idea using my voice and while dictating,
Mm.
and then I use AI to extract the main points and work uh, mm,
Mm.
to uh, create a good outline. And then I use my voice also to draft, because so I get away from the screen and increase my step count.
Mm.
And finally, yeah, the editing part is always the longest. And I'm playing with AI to also to edit my drafts. But uh, this last month I tried Claude Professional. I never tried to pay for Claude before, and I'm not. It's a bit disappointing. I expected more,
Really?
so I think I'll go back to ChatGPT. So yeah, this last month I had to rewrite lots of things, because the what Cloud did, what I didn't like the output from Cloud.
Mm.
And speaking of AI, do you use AI in your process?
I don't use it to write, but I'll use it for helping me structure things or plan things, or just answering quick questions. So I usually have ChatGPT open on my computer if I'm writing something and then I have a question, and I just will ask it because it's usually quicker than going into Google and trying to find the answer. Sometimes,
Mm.
even though they have AI features now as well, ChatGPT is usually quicker at articulating what I'm trying to say. But I don't use it to write at the minute, and I don't know if I will in the future. I have to wait and see how things go. And I just like writing, so I tend
Yeah.
to avoid anything that stops me from writing what I wanna write. But then again, um, it probably depends what you're writing as well. Like fiction, you couldn't really use perfection properly because it would definitely interfere with your own creative process, I would imagine. But if you're writing like a technical article with
Yeah.
research involved, it would probably be really really helpful. And it's really interesting what you do actually with the way you dictate it and then use it to extract the points. Really interesting. Haven't thought of that before. Do you write in do you dictate in English or do you dictate in Italian and then translate it?
Yeah, it's very important, but because when I do my initial exploration, I just it's just like brainstorming basically.
Mm,
It's not totally random, but it's out of it doesn't follow a structure.
mm,
Um, and so for that I use Italian, because I'm quicker. I don't have to hunt for words. And
mm,
but then I ask for the outline. I prompt the prompt I use for the outline is in English, so the outline comes out in English.
mm,
And then when I dictate the draft, I dictate in English, because I was using a different app in the past. I tried for a couple months, I think. I tried dictating in Italian
mm,
and getting the translation from AI, but it sounded too much like Google Translate, basically.
mm,
And maybe I could have refined the prompt, or maybe I could try it again now that the models have evolved and improved. But I also like the idea of practicing my English.
yeah.
And I every day I listen and read in English, so I really it's a language I love. I prefer English to Italian. So
That's
I
fun.
like learning new words.
Yeah.
I just started reading fiction because I was resistant to reading fiction in Italian. I thought it was too hard, but no, I was afraid to of having to stop constantly to look for words, but
Mm,
it's not happening for now.
mm,
And so I want to memorize those words, and using them is the best way to
yeah.
memorize them.
Yeah, I'm very jealous because obviously where I'm from, we only really speak English, so I'm always very jealous of other people who can speak multiple languages and especially Italian because it's such a beautiful language, and I really wish I could speak it. But yeah, I think whenever you are from a multilingual country, you maybe don't realize how what it's like with someone who's from a single language country, really like us, because it's frustrating because I watch you guys like switch from language to language so effortlessly, and it's amazing. And I so wish I could do that as well. But Yeah.
Well, actually, Italians are not that good with
Really?
languages. In school, it's terrible.
Mm,
Everyone hates maths and English. Basically, the worst topics are maths and English. And yeah, and the teachers and professors are not great
yeah.
usually. But we're improving. No, in Germany, in Austria, and yeah, and the Netherlands,
Mm,
Norway, and Sweden, they are very very strong
mm.
English speakers. Yeah, yeah, I'm very jealous of them. Yeah. Um, so we have just a few minutes for everyone. Reading and listen no reading listen no, not reading but listening and watching. If you have a question, just put it in the chat right now. I have a question about the monetization part. How do you decide what to yeah, on Substack in particular, you basically monetize just through your paywall? You don't you or you do you have external products maybe on Gumroad?
Mm.
What's your situation?
It's a few different things, yeah. So there's the main thing is a paywall on Substack, and I asked a question recently to my audience about this, what the best structure is, what they prefer in
Mhm.
terms of where the paywall is. And I think the structure I'm currently using is the one people prefer, where all my posts are free whenever they first come out, and they're free for 7 days, and then they all drop behind the paywall after that. So everyone can read all my posts for free entirely all the time for 7 days, and then after that, only my paid subscribers can read the back catalog. But I also I sometimes get sponsorships for some articles as well, so I try to reach out
Okay.
sometimes to brands that I think would be a good fit, and if they're interested in maybe placing an ad in one of my articles or something like that, then they can do that. And there's different packages for that. And then I have some products like I have a podcast course. I have a few other small pieces that are on Gumroad and Thinkific and things like that. They don't do an awful lot, but I'm still trying to work out the best way of promoting them, and maybe someday using paid ads to kind of bolster all that.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. What about
Yeah,
you?
but it's very,
What does yours look
yeah,
like?
it's another beast to tame.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
selling through ads. Yeah. No, I was one because a usual problem is for writers, for creators in general, is to decide what to what to give for free and what to sell. But
Mm.
the way you are using the paywall eliminates this problem in a way,
Yeah.
because you just it's how long have you been using the automatic paywall?
Not for the whole time I've been on Substack. Only the last sort of
Yeah.
maybe this year, 2025. Sometimes I'm testing to see if it works or not, to see if it has any impact. I want to get more organic monthly subscribers coming in, if I can, paid monthly subscribers. And yeah, I just want to see if this has an impact. I always want to try and balance what works for me with what my readers want and what's the best experience for them. I don't want them to feel like I'm just always trying to push them to upgrade. But I also want to make sure that I can generate income from Substack as well. So
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah. So
Okay,
okay.
okay. Yeah, I'm very curious how it works in the long term, because it's if it works, if the automatic paywall works, it's very, if you are a creative, or just write to help your audience,
Mm,
it's the easier solution. Not easy in the sense that you still have to create great content and so on, but you don't have to think every month what to put behind the paywall, because it's just everything after some time. Yeah.
yeah.
As regards sponsors, how do you think a creator could, it's good, it's good money, it can be good money.
Mm,
I see it in my on my YouTube channel. And what do you think attracts a sponsor? How do you yeah, how do you attract them, or how do you convince them to buy from you? How do you price? Do you have because you have been running, you have been having sponsors for a while, I think, on your
mm,
publications, and so. What did you learn in this period?
I think, well, one thing is to not just kind of sit back and wait for sponsors to come to you all the time because they're not always going to find you organically. They might, and that's okay. But I think the best thing to do is to, if you identify a sponsor who you think would be a good fit, then reach out to them yourself, send them an email or a message or something like that. Try and approach the right person in the company if you can, and just ask them. Just say, "Are you interested in advertising in this newsletter?" And explain what you can offer and what you can do for them. And if they're interested, then you can start a conversation about the price. Or you can send them like a pre-made like PDF, for instance, with your pricing guide or
Yeah.
whatever way you do it. But if you do want to make yourself attractive to sponsors as well, um, try and always have a sponsor slot in every article so they can
Hmm.
see it. So if someone
Yeah.
does come across your article, then they can say, "Oh, there's an opportunity to advertise." If that isn't there, then they're not going to know that they can advertise in your newsletter. So yeah, I think it's those two things. But I think reaching out yourself, being proactive about it, if you want to get sponsors, is a good approach. And if you can find the right ones, then it can be a good like long term investment for your newsletter. Yeah.
So currently you are reaching out, or are they coming?
I do a bit of both. So I if I come across one that I think is a good fit, I'll reach out to them. A good way to find sponsors who might be a good fit is if you're subscribed to other people's newsletters and they have advertising in them, and you see a brand in another newsletter, then you can ask them and approach them. Cheryl's asking there, how do you know how much to charge for
Yeah.
advertising? um, yeah, I mean, again, it depends on the size of your newsletter or the size of your audience or how active you are. I would just start small and work your way up. The smaller it is at the start, the less pressure there is on you. But if you know you can deliver more, if you know you can produce results and you can create good content and you can drive traffic to that sponsor, you can increase your prices, and you should always increase your prices regardless. So don't just keep it the same price for a very very long time. Always bump it up a little tiny bit, and then
Yeah.
every time you increase it, then make sponsors aware that it's going to increase, and then they should work with you now if they want to. But yeah, I wouldn't say there's any set price, just whatever works for you, Cheryl. Yeah.
How much were you charging when you started? And how many views did you have at that time?
So I started with like I don't know, it could have maybe been like as low as £30 for an ad slot. And now it's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But I think kind of like regardless of the size of your audience, whether your audience is already big or already small, start small anyway in terms of your price, and then
Mhm.
get a few under your belt. If you know what I mean, get a few advertisers in there, so then you have like a portfolio of advertisers for future ones, and then
Yeah.
you can show them what you've already done. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree because everyone is telling to uh, not down sell yourself or undervalue yourself. But if you in the beginning you really don't know how much people can buy from you, can pay you,
Mm.
or what, or if you are a good salesman, saleswoman for your newsletter in this case.
Yeah.
And so you start small, and if people always say yes without any problem, you start increasing until you reach that resistance, and people start asking, maybe 10 euros more or $10 more.
Yeah.
I did the same with my services. Unfortunately, I started with a too high price, and after lowering just a bit, I had far more conversions. Yeah.
Good. Mm.
So thank you. I want to be respectful of your time, and the half an hour has gone. Maybe we'll have another chat in the
Yes,
future.
definitely.
But I learned a lot of the things I wanted to learn from you. I hope the audience was uh, did appreciate too, and I will share the recording on Wednesday with
Mm.
my newsletter. And if you have any parting advice, and then we can close.
Yeah.
For in terms of uh, uh, finding your rhythm, becoming a good prolific writer.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just say experiment and test things out and try different things. Try writing at different times of the day. Try writing for longer or shorter periods. Try writing in different places in your house, or going to coffee shops, or just find what works for you, because everyone's different, and you're not going to know what works until you try a lot of different things. And once you do figure out what works, then try and stick with that and try and nurture that period of time that you have to work and protect it as much as you possibly can. But yeah, just experiment and see what works. Yeah.
Yeah, great, great. I totally agree. I totally agree. So thank you again, and have a good afternoon.
Yeah. Thanks, Roberto. Ciao.
Bye, guys. Ciao, ciao, everyone.